This webinar, we'll just give everyone a minute or so to join. Got quite a number of people interested in what's happening with NetSuite. So we'll just give it a minute or so. How's it going over there, Simon? You all ready to rock?
Yeah, you set. Looking forward to showing people Australian bank feeds.
Yeah, that's good. Certainly a popular topic. Laura, you ready to rock?
Yes, all good, all set up for the demonstration.
Great. Give everyone 30 more seconds and we'll get into it. Thank you, everyone, for carving out some time in your day to join. While people are just jumping on, a bit of housekeeping. So if you've not used this tool before, you've got a little chat box in the top right-hand corner. So please feel free to pop in any questions throughout the session. I'm sure there'll be plenty based on the content, and there'll be plenty of time at the end after the demonstrations to tease through your questions as well. Just give it 10 more seconds. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I know a lot of you have joined our webinars in the past, and what we're trying to do now is just get you closer to what's happening with NetSuite. It is a big investment for a lot of you, and getting the most out of it is crucial as you grow and new people come into the business and are looking to do different things to make your teams more efficient. So today, we're going to introduce you to a couple of the features that have come out lately. Some that have been around a little while have been refined, and some you may not even know existed. So the idea behind these sessions is to get the knowledge out there, get you talking, and of course, coming to us and just discussing how we can help you. The guys on the phone today, so myself, I know most of you, but I look after the customer success team here at Anexa. So effectively, any of our lovely customers that are live, up and running, looking to expand, my team will help you do that and make sure you've got the right people to support you. Simon, you want to give yourself an intro?
Yeah, so I'm Simon. I'm a solution lead here at Anexa. I come with, I think, 12 years NetSuite experience from the implementation side. And actually, some of the people on the call, I think I've helped you in the past. So, yeah, that's me.
Great. Laura?
Yeah, so I'm Laura. I've been working with NetSuite and Anexa around 2.5 years. I've done a couple of implementations, and yeah, just looking forward to this session.
Great. Thanks, guys. So in terms of what we're going to cover today, we're just going to talk about a little bit about what we're planning ahead with these webinars, because it's important we get that content out there. As we know, NetSuite's ever changing, certainly through those upgrades twice a year. So it's nice to know what's in the roadmap. We're going to focus today on a couple of topics from the demonstration point of view. So bank feeds, really popular. For the guys out there that have been using NetSuite for a long time, it's been a huge pain point. So exciting to present to you the changes in that field, and it's already helping a couple of customers already. And then landed costs, which is another important part of your process. NetSuite does have its standard feature, and Anexa has taken that functionality a step further. So we'll walk through that and see how that can help you. And as I said, yeah, plenty of time for questions at the end, but please feel free, for the guys who've joined late, use the chat box in the top right-hand corner to ask questions as we go through. In terms of the series, so as I said, we're going to focus on a couple of the key features that have come out lately and have been refined over the last couple of years. Later on in the year, we're going to start looking at a couple of the other features that came late last year. Certainly, AP automation is a favorite topic. So we're going to look at what NetSuite's done in that space and see where that's got up to. A lot of the changes they have been providing are there to benefit end users and increase that user adoption with NetSuite. So we'll also look at the guided learning feature, which helps you as you step through your process, so that it actually can be customized to the way you run your business, and you can just see how that can really help your end users get a grasp of NetSuite a lot quicker. In terms of changes in NetSuite, so huge announcements last year from the conference over in Vegas, Suite World. The ones of note were, it was very AI driven. So NetSuite's looking to bring a lot more AI and machine learning into its capabilities. So you start to see this flow through with the different updates that come through, different reporting metrics and dashboards that's really learning your data that you're pushing through NetSuite, and those volumes are just growing year on year. So really important you get some good analysis out of that without you having to do all the heavy lifting. One of the more exciting announcements was with the planning and budgeting space. So we're actually getting access to Oracle's enterprise performance management. So a lot of you will know this as NetSuite planning and budgeting, but they are extending those capabilities, which you see on the screen. There's quite a number of different features coming out. NSAW, which is the analytics warehouse, was released last year as well. So we're teasing that through with a few of you, which brings your data in from numerous sources, not just NetSuite, to bring that to life with different dashboards and metrics to allow you for better informed decision making based on data from all aspects of your business, not just NetSuite. And a couple other features we're excited about is account rec, so effectively taking on the black lines of the world. So as those features start to get developed and released in ANZ, we will bring that to you. And then, of course, AP automation, OCR scanning, that full purchase process to invoice and improving those efficiencies. That's another exciting announcement that came out late last year. Again, with a lot of these features, they do get tried and tested across the pond first prior to coming across to this region. We're trying to get onto the beta program for a lot of these. So we'll bring you along for that journey as things are released, as we find out more. But yeah, lots of exciting things happening at NetSuite. In terms of stuff that's actually real and available now, so you would have seen a lot of changes with Suite Answers. And if you don't know what that is, please reach out. We'll show you, because I do speak to some customers who don't know that you've got the Bible sitting right behind your NetSuite instance for asking queries when you're a bit stuck. So they've done a lot in that space to make it much easier for your end users. And then the 360 analysis, there's a huge advancements in just bringing to life your data, not just from a customer point of view, but your purchasing, your items as well. So a lot of these are being released and trickled through. So again, if you're not across all of them, please speak to us and we can walk you through how this can help your process. A few of the others that have come out as well, we can go through those in detail. Not everyone on the call will leverage the manufacturing or warehouse features, but we can certainly dive into those in a bit more detail. Some of you that attended our on-tour events would have seen this as well, and we'll provide access to that information after the call. In terms of everything that's been released, so we'll focus on a couple of features today, but if you have your phones ready, and we'll of course share the slide deck, this will take you to a blog where we've actually done a wrap on not just the latest 24.1 release, but everything that came out recently as well. You'll be able to access all our bits of information that gives you a bit more detail. Again, if you want to dive into something a bit more, reach out to your customer success manager or myself, and we can get that rolling and tie that to your specific business need. So without further ado, I'll pass across to Simon, who's going to take us through an extremely popular topic. It's been a pain point for a number of years. A lot of people have come to NetSuite from zero and have screamed because we didn't have this feature, but now we have an actual Australia bank feeds option, which Simon will walk us through. And again, encourage you, please ask questions by using the chat in the top right, which I'll monitor. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Fernando. So yeah, Australian bank feeds, as Fernando mentioned, is pretty new. It's only released last year. And when, in my experience as a consultant, people moving away from the MyObs and the Xeros of the world, they have that as a standard feature. So It's making my life significantly easier going into new implementations where they do have the bank feeds. It is for Australia, and it supports a number of banks, and we'll go into what those banks will look like in a moment. Some of the key benefits, it's an automatic feed that downloads your bank statements every 2 hours without any manual intervention. And major banks such as ANZ, Westpac, NAB, CommBank, I can give you a full list if you want to check is your bank supported. And the good thing is actually it's free. So it's free to install and set up. It probably takes probably an hour, less than an hour to set up. And it can be done by your in-house NetSuite team with administrator privileges. I guess the key thing it's trying to improve the process of is people manually downloading bank statements into a format that NetSuite can take, and then you're manually uploading them. So if you've got 50 bank accounts or even 10 or 20, that's quite a lot of work to do that. So this bank feed process streamlines that process significantly. So before we go into the demo, what we're going to look at in the demo is how to set it up. How do we install the Australia Bank Feed Suite app? How do I know what to look for? And we'll actually go and set up a connection to a bank. I won't go the full way, but I'll take you far enough to the point where you could, in theory, do this yourself, knowing that you would have to key in your credentials and authenticate with the bank. But we'll go through that in a minute. And then after the bank feed has come in, what does the data look like? So let's imagine the feed is coming every 2 hours. What is the result of the bank feed doing its thing, and where will I see that information to then do a bank rec? So I will now share my screen. So hopefully you can you see a picture of NetSuite login, Ananda?
No, it's a Word doc.
It's a Word doc. Oh, sorry. Sorry, modern technology. Screen. No. Okay, there we go. Is that better?
Nothing yet. Yep, perfect.
Yep, perfect. Cool. So while you're in your NetSuite account, you would want to go to the Suite Apps tab. And while you're in that tab, all you have to do is type in the word Australia Bank. And this will be the one that you're going to click on. So the idea is that you come into here, you click on this. It's going to give you some information of what it can do. And then you're going to hit the install button. Now, because I've done this before and the bank feeds are already installed in this account, it's already in here for me. It is a managed bundle, which means that any upgrades to the bundle will be NetSuite will provide the updates, and then you can trigger them when you want to. To set up the bank feeds, you're going to have a new option turn up in the transactions bank menu. And this is where you'll see Australian bank feeds. The bundle install can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, depending on obviously internet connections and all the rest of it. But after that process is done, you can click on Australian bank feeds. And when you first come into here, this might take 30 seconds to load. You're going to see an area where we can manage the connections, and how do we then take that and connect to the bank. So within here, you do have to click on create new connection. This is basically the first point that people have to do any work. And if you click on new connection, it's basically allowing your NetSuite system with a few authentication keys to be eligible to go through SCISS, which is, I guess, the middleware, if you like, that is calling the data from the bank and then putting it into NetSuite. Once you've established the connection, managed service provider is the next thing, and this is where we're going to start seeing the banks that we can interact with. And if we can click on that, does the ACS screen appear, Ananda?
Still on
So
local.
already, sorry.
Still on local bank connection screen. Is that what you mean?
Okay, so I've got a new pub to share, so I'll bring that in.
Just while you're doing that, mate, there's a question on foreign exchange currency accounts, or does it only handle AUD accounts?
So when you go through the banking portal, if those foreign currency accounts are available to the Suite app, you'll see them there. I guess it can be different for every bank, but in the screens that I'm about to show you, yeah, you can. I think if they're available for NetSuite to download the feed from, you'll see them when you get into that banking section of that basically puts the connection through.
Yep. And if not, you speak with your bank manager to expose it to the portal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we have now is the screen that we now start to establish the connections with. There are two ways, and I'm going to click on I don't want to share data. There's two ways to connect to the banks. The first one is a direct feed that allows your NetSuite account to go to the bank and it downloads data. Another option is to have something called an ACSIS account. And that basically is, let's say your accountant is managing the feeds, but by using this option, and I can send people more information of the differences between the two, because there are a few. But option one is basically you have someone maintain the feeds for you, whereas the second option is a direct feed where you literally set it up and it's good to go. I'm going to click on I don't want to share SDR data. When you go into the screen like this, I obviously can't give you a limited amount of time, but the advantages of going through a trusted advisor or a direct feed, definitely read them as you're going through here. And actually, Anexa can provide assistance of which way you should go. I do have clients going through trusted advisor, but then also direct feed. The main positive about trusted advisor, you get significantly more banks to choose from, for whatever reason. And then the direct data has a limited number of banks, but they're still the big ones. So I'm going to use direct data. And now I'm about to see a small set of banks that we're interacting with. Just click next. So in the direct data feed, you have access to probably 10 banks. So the big ones, ANZ, Bendigo, Combank, Macquarie, NAB, St. George. If you go the trusted advisor way, you'll probably see 70 or 80 bank accounts. And again, we can give you more information of which way you choose to go. So if I was trying to integrate with ANZ, I would click on ANZ and click on next. And this is where you have to put your account details in. The next stage, because I can't take you to the next stage, but after you go through this process, the bank is likely to send a 2FA authentication request. And that means the account holder has to log into the bank and then put that code in the screen, basically for the bank to be sure that it's not someone who shouldn't be doing this process. I do have experience of clients when they get through into the banking screen. So let's imagine you're with ANZ and you get into the banking screen, their accounts aren't exposed. To expose them to this, to expose them to NetSuite, clients I had before have had to go to the bank to request that their bank account is exposed to their ERP system. Typically, it's one form per bank account. And as the bank processes that request, if in theory in 2 days' time when they've processed the request, you're likely to be able to come into here and then see the account that you couldn't in the first time you went in. Sometimes banks need you to request permission to expose them to your accounting system. Once you've done that process, in theory, the bank feed is set up, and what we should see now is where does the data come in. So let's come to that one. So when we've set up the bank feed, the data that it's pulling down will turn up when let's finish loading in transactions bank match bank data. So upon selection of your bank account, you would see the data downloaded from the bank feed. I've obviously mocked this up for this scenario, but this is where all of the data that the bank feeds are coming into. this is where it's showing up. In the old-fashioned way of the current way, where you don't have bank feeds, all of the data that you are manually uploading is also turning up here. So if you did have a portion where you turned the bank feeds on yesterday, but you had some data that you preloaded, both sets of data would appear in this screen. If you're interested in, well, what time did the last feed turn on, or what time did it do anything? Actually, all of the imports, regardless whether it's manual or via the bank feed, will turn up in import banking history. So banking import history. And if for whatever reason it failed or it didn't go in, you will be able to see the results here. As I mentioned before, the bank feeds are downloaded every 2 hours. I think between the hours of, or maybe, I think 8 and 6. I can confirm those, but it is between, it's in a 10-hour window, and they're done every 2 hours. If for whatever reason the integration, so the bank feed didn't download anything, you would still see a line, and it would tell you the number of hours it did or didn't upload. So I'll stop sharing now and then go to the next slide. So share content. In terms of availability, it's any NetSuite account that uses Australian banks. There was a question earlier about New Zealand banks. This Australian Bank Feeds app does not cover New Zealand banks. The alternative methods are to use the Oracle NetSuite Bank Feed Suite app. That does include a few New Zealand banks, not all, and I can give you some more information on that. Or the alternative method, which in theory would cover a lot of banks, is to use something called an auto bank statement import. That essentially is your bank would put the bank statement into an SFTP, and then this feature would actually go looking for the bank feeds, the bank statements on that SFTP, and actually load them for you. So it is if your bank isn't supported either in the native Australian Bank Feed Suite app or the Oracle NetSuite Bank Feed Suite app, this is another way to achieve the same thing. We just have to set up an SFTP. Your bank will automatically put that file there, and NetSuite will go looking for it and then import it as a bank statement. Just a recap of the process that we just went through. You're going to go into the Suite App Store to install the Australian Bank Feeds app. You're going to create a connection to the bank, you enter your account details. There will be some authentication that you have to do. And again, if you don't see any of your bank accounts appear there, then you would have to contact your bank, and they will more than likely make you fill in a form that basically exposes that bank account, depending on if you want all of them exposed or not, to NetSuite, and then the bank feeds can then keep on running. I think that's me done and under.
Thank you. I'm just checking we covered all the questions. Just with your experience with ANZ, have you dealt with their transactive service, the digital side?
No, I think from the bank feeds app, it's just downloading bank statements into NetSuite. And just I can see a question from Emily. There is two ways. One is a trusted advisor, where you do have to get a trusted advisor to. I've done both ways before. The direct method is probably easier. The only way the direct method doesn't work is if you don't see your bank in that list of selected bank banks. So if you can't see your bank in that small list, then you need someone like, or I don't know, Alliance Bank or something. Then you would have to go the other way. But the direct one is it's a lot easier to implement than having a trusted advisor, because you do have to get someone to be registered with ACIS. Typically accountants do have that, and I think when I tried it once, you have to have a specific registration number, which I think high-level accountants have. So that's probably, we can go into that more, and I can send that information to you, Emily, if you want me to. But direct is far easier. If you can see your bank in that list, definitely try the direct way, because it's far easier to implement, in my experience.
Thank you. I think that's good. So yeah, I think just to wrap it up, I'd encourage you, if you're looking at doing this, get in touch with your bank manager, and you can get on the front foot and just make sure just confirm what the process is for you to get those accounts exposed. Some banks are better than others at having, at being attached to the open banking standards already, but others just need a bit more of a push. So do that in advance, so when you're ready to install the app, you're a few steps ahead. Thanks, Simon. We'll cover some more questions towards the end. So Laura, we'll go through landed costs. So this is a feature that not all of you use, but in terms of Anexa and where we sit, there is a lot of standard functionality available within NetSuite, such as landed cost, which works great up to a point. This is where Anexa, through feedback from yourselves, has taken what's standard and then taken it to the next level and allowed you to do other things with it. For example, making a different costing method or calculation applied, or making it easier for you to leverage the solution. So Laura will take us through how exactly it works.
Yes, thank you, Ananda. So the landed cost feature is used to track expenses associated with the acquisition of inventory. It allows you to increase the asset value of inventory items by including additional expenses such as shipping charges, freight, import fees, and among others. So the benefit is that by tracking landed cost, businesses can accurately calculate their profit margins and define appropriate selling prices. The NetSuite standard landed cost feature will allow you to track these expenses. However, when it comes to applying a landed cost bill to multiple item receipts or using a custom cost allocation method, this built-in feature might not be enough, and users will need to manually calculate the distribution per item receipt and edit each to enter the calculated amount. They will also be limited to the cost allocation methods that are available in NetSuite, that are quantity, value, and weight. So the landed cost distribution is an Anexa app bypasses this manual calculation by dynamically detecting and applying the landed cost values on a bill and distributing them to a multiple item receipts using the cost allocation method specified by the user. Some of the highlights are that with the Anexa landed cost distribution, you will have an accurate landed cost. This app ensures that all stock on hand is valued at the total landed cost. The admin work will be significantly reduced as users won't spend any more time undertaking manual calculations. And companies can easily embrace global markets with precise and automated calculations of landed cost, ensuring confidence in their financial operations. So the general setup of the landed cost distribution app involves the bundle installation, the cost and expense category associated to the landed cost category, landed cost distribution mapping for each of the cost categories, custom cost allocation method, if any, custom role and record, if any, and on the item record, the landed cost checkbox needs to be checked, and the item should have a compatible unit of measure with the landed cost method. Once the bundle installation and this configuration are done, you can start using this functionality to estimate the business landed cost accurately. So now we have a use case. So let's say we have a company ABC that purchased from the same supplier 100 GoPro Hero 4 at a unit price of 250 each, and 150 GoPro tripods at a unit price of 40 each. Freight cost of 1,500 that is allocated by volume, and these items were received into different batches. So in the first batch, they received 70 GoPros and 100 tripods, and the remaining quantities were received in the second batch. So in this table, this is how the costs for this use case are calculated, and how a user should manually calculate it if using the standard feature. now I will demonstrate how these costs are calculated with our landed cost distribution app. Just give me 1 second. I share my screen.
While you're firing that up, I've just had a question about how this differentiates to the standard landed cost. So you'll see this in the demo, but maybe just touch on where we've taken it to the next level.
Yep. So first, I'm going to show you one of the item records to show you that the setup is right, the one that we just checked. Okay, so this is the item record for the GoPro here. So we can see that it has a volume populated. Also, it has the track landed cost checkbox checked. And then we can also see the average cost here. So once I enter the landed cost, this value should change. And will also change on the location where I receive these items. So in this demo, I'm going to do it with Mulgraves. So this value will also change. So now to enter the landed cost, we need to navigate to transactions, purchases, and landed cost distribution. In this new screen, so the first section is my filters section. So I'm going to filter by subsidiary. And I'm also going to select my bill with the landed cost, which is this one, and the landed cost method. We said that it was by volume, so I select volume. And now I'm going to click refresh. And once I click refresh, the value of the bill should be automatically populated here. So I got the value populated under freight for landed cost, and I also got the list of item receipts. So I want to apply this bill to these first item receipts that are the ones that we received just before. So now I'm gonna click submit. And we're going to get a QID. So we need to remind this number, which is 30. And then I click in landed cost distribution results. And I'm going to, can you see the new screen, the landed cost distribution Q search, Ananda?
Still loading.
Just give me 1 sec. Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, so now so we're gonna be on this new screen. So I'm gonna refresh this screen until my status changes to processed.
While that's refreshing, in terms of those steps you just showed, which bit is on top of the existing standard NetSuite? Is that screen which allows you to do it?
No, with the standard NetSuite landed cost, you enter the landed cost directly on the item receipt. So this is like a separate screen because this screen allows us to select different item records, item receipts, sorry.
Yep, and multiple
Just
items.
to recap there, in standard NetSuite, you can only apply freight invoice to one receipt. This allows you to take one freight invoice and apply it to as many as you want. So
yeah, great.
I mean, standard NetSuite, literally one bill, one receipt. But actually, I want to apply one freight bill to several, and this is what this Suite app can do, which is what NetSuite can't.
Great.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna go to one of the item receipts and show you how these were distributed. So we have the landed cost should be populated here according to the quantity and the volume of that total quantity. And also for this item. And now if we navigate to the landed cost tab, the total landed cost for this item receipt should be populated here. So the cost will also be populated where the standard landed cost is populated as well, which is in this part of the item receipt. And I'm going to show you the GL impact of this transaction. So this is the impact of the landed cost. It will be the account impacted. It will be the account selected on the cost category for each of the cost allocation methods. So now if we go to the item record again, the average cost should be updated. This one here. Yep. And yeah, I think that's everything from landed cost, Ananda, that I wanted to cover.
Great. I just wanted to clear up a question that came through. Do we need to actually have the physical bill transaction in NetSuite? Can we apply a staging value for the cost and then tidy it up when it comes in?
So in today's world, you could edit each receipt manually and type in an estimated landed cost, and then when the invoice comes in, you would then in theory clear out those costs you put on those receipts, and then take the new cost, which is from the landed cost distribution. I've seen people manually calculate the costs for, let's say, freight on an item receipt. But if you want to put that in today, and then you get the invoice in tomorrow, you just have to clear the values out of those item receipts, so it's not.
Yeah, it's not restricting you. You can put an estimate in and then change it. Cool.
Yeah, freight bills can come in a few days later, but you can still receipt the stock. Bill comes in and then spread the landed cost fees across the receipts.
Yeah, and then in terms of now it gets into heavy accounting. So you've closed the period. You showed us the GL impact there. If you have put through an estimate, do we know what happens once you put the actuals in? Is it just a...
So the estimates are actually in the GL because you put a cost in against the item receipt. If you've locked the period, then that's one thing. And how the app would then try and update something in a locked period. I'm sure the accountants would want it to not do anything because it's a locked accounting period with all the financials sorted. So we just have to check the behavior of the app. But I don't imagine it's going to allow an edit to a transaction in a locked period. But we can check, I think, just to make sure, because that scenario can happen. It might tell the person off that you have to reopen the accounting period for this to be applied to those receipts. Double check.
Yeah, it should be part of your month then. Okay, we can tease that one out.
We'll double check that with tech team.
Great. Thank you, Laura. I'll just reshare the slides. So we'll just cover any questions that didn't get answered. Yeah, so Jeff's right. You usually don't get those bills till quite some time after. So we'll tease through that example and share exactly the accounting treatment for those late bills. I'm just checking any other questions. Just on the back to the banking. Sorry, Simon. If your bank isn't on the list, what do we do there? What are the options?
So the main option, if the bank isn't there, we would have to use a routine where we set up an SFTP. The bank can send your bank statements to an SFTP server, and then an app that I mentioned, which is called Auto Bank Statement Import, I think it was. We can use ABSI. Yeah, we can use that to then NetSuite can go looking for the files on the SFTP to bring them into NetSuite. And it's probably a more universal way of doing it. So you're not necessarily, the only limitation you have is, can the bank send a file type that is supported by NetSuite to an SFTP, and an SFTP server? NetSuite will go looking for that.
Yeah, great.
It's a good question, Jeff. I think typically whether the banks allow someone to go directly into them from NetSuite, that's probably an interesting question. But
it's typically a no. But now with the open banking standards, that is slowly opening up. Hence why we can have this new app. But it is, still work in progress. But it is bank specific. Just another one. Sorry, the banks is quite popular. So you mentioned there the guys can set it up themselves. If they leveraged us, is that a few hours? Just depends on the bank. What does that look like?
Probably an hour. To go through the process we just did there. Yeah, because I'm ultimately reliant on the person the other side to key in the banking information. The bank will make you authenticate. When you go in through that screen that I was showing before, it's going to send a 2FA code to the email address of the bank. So you have to literally be in AAB or ANZ to retrieve that, put it in. When we're all confident that works, when you've keyed that in, then you'll start to see the accounts you want to sync with NetSuite. By default, all of the bank accounts when you log in will be eligible for the fee, but you can specifically pick which accounts you do and don't want to bring into NetSuite for whatever reason. So, and actually, we had a client a few days ago who they all were turned on. We're now going through a process where we turn off some of the bank feeds because they don't need to bring in. It's just a small bank account. They manage the feed manually just because it's easier. So yeah. So if you did set up 10 feeds today and you wanted to turn 2 off, that is possible just by going through the same routine as you would when you set them up.
Yeah. I guess the thing just to be mindful of, there are some steps. So you may run into some barriers, but it is step by step. And please, leverage us if you need to figure out what the errors are. But typically, if you've got a good relationship with your bank manager, they've exposed those accounts. It can, and of course, you've got your login to your portal that can certainly speed things up.
Sometimes I've set this up with clients where we get to the first stage, we log in, we get to the bank, and we don't see any bank accounts. Then they engage their bank to do that, to expose the bank accounts, and then we can go through the process again. And it's relatively straightforward if everything works in one session. Sometimes you might need 2 sessions because for whatever reason, but no more than a couple of hours.
Yeah, we're learning more as we take on more banks, and we'll share that with you and leverage that when you come to us. I can answer this one. So on landed cost for our app, it is a subscription fee, annual subscription fee for the app, and it's usually a couple of days to get it set up. Sometimes a bit longer, depending on how complex you want to apply the calculation for that landed cost, but typically a couple of days plus the annual fee for the app. I think that's maybe something else has just come in.
Cara, I think yes, we can. I think I've got a client who has 6 or 7 subsidiaries with one bank, and then 6 or 7 subsidiaries with another one. You can have multiple connections to multiple banks.
Yeah, great.
Especially now where you've got multiple subsidiaries, they might not all be with one bank. They might be with several different ones.
Cool. All right, guys. So thank you very much for those demos. I guess from your perspective, Lara, I'll go to you. What excites you about what's down the road and what you've seen with NetSuite and where it's heading?
Well, I'm really excited about the text enhance, because now NetSuite uses AI to help users to write content in NetSuite. For example, if you are in an item record and you need to write a description for purchase and another one for sales, these text enhance will help you to write two different descriptions with different tones. So you have one specific for purchase and another one for sales. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, no, it is exciting how they're helping users without you having to, rely on a consultant or an administrator, and you can just absorb the product a bit easier. Same for you, Simon. From your perspective, you've been around NetSuite a long time. What's your take on where we're heading next?
A couple of things. I've done a lot of manufacturing implementations, and as part of Go Live, prior to this release, we can't import open work orders. So I've had to get manufacturing teams keying them in well before Go Live. Another one from the accounting side, where it's a suite up called, I think, intercompany distribution, where let's say head office receives a bill for insurance and it can spread the costs to all the subsidiaries in an automated way. So that's a pretty cool newish feature that's come along. So that's especially if you're cross-charging intercompany charges, where the bill gets put in head office and you want to spread those costs to the different subsidiaries. It's a really cool feature that can be leveraged quite easily for things such as rent and all the rest of it. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a transaction line distribution. If you go to that QR code, I've got a bit more information on it as well. Brilliant. Well, thanks, guys. Not always easy to demo in front of the crowd, especially in front of our customers. So I hope you got a lot out of it. And yeah, this is just a flavor of what's to come. We're going to do more of these, do more snippets to share, so you can share it with your teams, get more out of NetSuite. A lot of the stuff coming down the line you just don't know about. They're hidden in the release notes. So please leverage ourselves, our support team, to tailor that to exactly what you can leverage within your business and your processes. But yeah, stay tuned. You'll get more invites to other sessions. Please, we do these based on your feedback as well. So send that in. Happy to do whatever topics needed, either in this forum or individually. Leverage your account management team as well to get to those topics. And yeah, there's plenty more to come in terms of webinars and on-site stuff as well. So thank you all and have a good day.